Hey everybody, this is the recap from Washington, D.C. this week. Talk to you about a few things. The coronavirus funding package, which includes, of course, federal resources for coronavirus. The TSA bill that was moved, the A&P hearing, Asia Pacific, and a railroad hearing. So let's start with the coronavirus funding package. Originally, the administration had asked for $2.5 billion. That was accordingly, because we asked some questions about that after researching what they thought they were going to need. I think it was politicized. There was a negotiation. If you can imagine this, some of our colleagues on the other side of the aisle were going to stick FISA, Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, reauthorization into the coronavirus federal funding response, which would be completely irresponsible, and it's just the FISA is a whole other issue which belongs nowhere in this. They also tried to use the coronavirus situation to put price controls for drugs in the bill. Quite honestly, those price controls would stop, if taken to their logical conclusion, would stop the new drug research to create the cures and the vaccines for the coronavirus. So very ironic. Anyhow, that's a lot of story there, but the negotiation went from $2.5 billion to $8.3 billion. I do question the number, but I wasn't given an option of having a discussion and negotiating based on the facts and what the need are. So it was $8.3 billion or nothing. I do see protecting the United States and our citizens against this kind of thing as a role of the federal government. So just made the best choice of bad circumstances that I could. I voted in favor of the $8.3 billion. Just so you know what it does, among other things, goes obviously towards vaccines. The other thing, it goes to and getting them, moving some of the approval process for vaccines kind of out of the way, so to speak, so we can get a vaccine more quickly than we usually do. Obviously, we're very concerned about the coronavirus, so it does that. It also helps pay for things like the immediate upscaling of things that we need, protective equipment for our practitioners. As you may know, maybe you don't, that much, if not quite honestly, most of this stuff is made in China. So literally, American companies have their plants to produce, like the mask, for instance, in China, and while we need it here, and it's an American company, the Chinese government won't allow them to take it to the port and put it on a ship to get here because they want it more and need it more over there, according to them. But that puts us in a very perilous circumstance. So part of this money is for the scaling up of the equipment. The other thing is for the scaling of test kits. There weren't a whole bunch of coronavirus tests kits sitting around because we didn't have coronavirus. So not only do we need the test kits, we need them on a mass quantity. So it is the first weekend in March here, and I would say by the next 48 to 72 hours, you will see a dramatic improvement in the availability of test kits. And if you feel like you need to be tested, certainly you can contact our office and we can tell you where to turn with that. But they're going to be very widely available, not only just in community health centers, which was where they will be initially, but literally at your doctor's office. Now, it won't be like a strep test where you go in, they swab you, go back and check it under the microscope in that same facility for a few minutes and walk back out and tell you, yes, you have strep or no, you do not. This requires a lab test. So you will take the test and then it has to be sent away to a lab which is then tested. And just keep in mind, hundreds of thousands, potentially millions of tests occurring at the same time. So we think the turnaround is going to be about 24 to 48 hours initially. It'll improve substantially as time goes on, but that's the initial assessment. So that's what a lot of this money is going towards, and it's obviously a very robust response. Also, just to let you know, people will describe it different ways, and I want to make sure everybody knows we're talking about the same thing. Coronavirus, also COVID-19, also SARS-CoV-2, which is the new name of this virus that was first detected in China. So there'll be continually more information on this. Again, if you don't know, the symptoms present themselves within 2 to 14 days of being exposed to it. And for all of us, first of all, they still assess, and keep this in mind, even though we've just found out there are 2 cases in Pennsylvania, that your risk in Pennsylvania and here in the United States is very low. The list of your risk of contracting coronavirus is very low. And the same things that you're used to doing to protect yourself really apply here. So try not to touch your face, wash your hands, and sometimes even I get lazy with this. You go to the sink, you turn it on, and you just rinse off for a moment or two. When I say wash your hands, I mean, and it makes a difference, wash your hands. Soap and hot soapy water for 20 seconds, 30 seconds of washing makes a big difference to stop the spread. So that's coronavirus. We also did the TSA bill, which is HR 1140, which was named the Rights for Transportation Security Officers. I will let you know that there's probably one thing that we could do to make TSA to marginalize TSA even more than it has been over time. We've all had our issues. These are good folks that are just trying to do a tough job and oftentimes underappreciated. But the one thing we could do, which is what the House attempted to do this week with this bill. So the TSA was set up very differently from other federal organizations because to protect the United States of America, they need the flexibility. Maybe the threat's on the West Coast and we have a bunch of TSA agents on the East Coast, vice versa. The ability to move employees around as necessary is a critical component to this. The ability to remove employees without a long judicial review is important too, because currently as it stands right now, if we have a TSA employee, God forbid, that allows firearms or explosives through the checkpoint onto the airplane, that individual can be removed immediately. Under this bill, which they would be listed under Title V, that wouldn't be able to happen. So there's a reason why TSA was set up this way. It also actually diminishes TSA workers' benefits and rights in many cases. So for that, I voted against that bill. There's a reason that TSA was set up the way it was. In the House Asia and Pacific Non-Proliferation Subcommittee hearing, so we're talking about the Non-Proliferation Treaty regarding nuclear weapons. They use this as an opportunity to talk about the rogue regimes of North Korea and Iran, how they got to the point that they are, and what happens from here. Understand that we believe in the non-proliferation of nuclear weapons. As a matter of fact, whether you know this or not, the United States has reduced its stockpile by about 90% since the treaty. So we're doing our part. But the point is that there are some people that want us to go to zero. Our enemies aren't going to go to zero. As a matter of fact, the closer we go to zero, the more they're going to try and attain the capability. And so we just need to be mindful of the world that we live in. Also, on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, on the Railroad Subcommittee, we talked about 2 things. One is moving LNG, liquefied natural gas, by rail. That's a new rule by the administration because we want to get, especially in Pennsylvania, our Marcellus Shale gas to markets, including not only Pennsylvania, of course, but New England, where we're literally buying natural gas from Russia because we can't get a pipeline to service New England from Pennsylvania or anywhere else because New York's in the middle and they don't allow it. So that's a problem. So we discussed that. We also discussed the fact with a reauthorization of Amtrak, how they do some of their accounting, where literally you and I in our taxes subsidize Amtrak. They counted that as revenue from ticket sales. Subsidizing from the states or the federal government is obviously not the same as ticket sales, but they don't break that out in their accounting, and so neither that nor depreciation. So it's hard when you're trying to figure out the correct subsidy or have the discussion about it at all and reauthorization of that. You need to know what the numbers are, and you need to know that they're correct. And finally, just talk to a little bit about some of the meetings we had, because every week, whether we're here in the district or in DC, there are continual constituent meetings occurring. Just to give you an idea, this week, American Association of Cardiovascular and Pulmonary Rehabilitation, APAC, the Tuberculosis Sclerosis Alliance, and the American Short Line and Regional Rail Association, and also Mantech were some of the meetings. So it's just critical that you have these meetings because they're very informative, and you can learn not only what legislation's out there, what issues are affecting these different organizations, and try and be informed when a bill comes up that might affect what they do in the community or what they do, period. So so that's kind of the week in recap, and we'll see you next week. God bless you.